The former Burma has been a military dictatorship since 1962, almost 50 years. This year it became a civilian government. There are over 60 million people in Myanmar and more than 100 ethnic groups. We begin our trip in the former capital of Yangon, also known as Rangoon. The Park Royal Hotel was very nice. Yangon, with a population of over 5 million, is the country's largest city and most important commercial center. Though photography is prohibited, we drove by the entrance to the home of the recently released political prisoner and Nobel Peace Prize recipient Aung San Suu Kyi. 89% of the population are Buddhist. The Great Reclining Buddha in Yangon is 216 feet long and nearly 100 feet high. Work began in 1899. Reconstruction of the current Buddha was completed in 1973. The Buddha's footprints contain images of the characteristics of Buddha. There are 108 symbols on the soles. Theravada Buddhism, as practiced in Myanmar, centers on personal meditation with no emphasis on rituals. In 2011, there were fewer than 12,000 American and Canadian visitors. His morning break. Shwedagon Pagoda is Yangon's most famous landmark. Barbara and Bob stand before the 99-meter-high gold stupa and reliquary, the focal point of this historic site. The top of the stupa is encrusted with over 4,500 diamonds and numerous other precious stones. And here I am with my diamond. According to legend, the pagoda has existed more than 2,600 years. Historical evidence, however, suggests that the pagoda was built in the 6th century. Numerous smaller stupas and other structures have been added. Traditionally, both men and women wear sarong-like garments called longi. The Bell Pavilion contains this historic 23-ton Mahagranda bell cast in the late 18th century. Here Barbara does her Quasimodo impression. The pagoda has also been the site of mass political demonstrations within Burma, including the demand for independence from British rule and democracy from military rule. It remains, however, the most sacred Buddhist pagoda for the Burmese, with relics of the 4 past Buddhas enshrined within. Buddhist nuns wear pink. Like the Catholics, only males can be ordained. These sweepers cover more territory than a Zamboni. Close by is the Gaba Ai, or World Peace Pagoda. It was built in 1954. It is said that white elephants bring peace, stability, and prosperity to the nation. so he went to visit them. Though not white in the albino sense, they have several identifying features, including white toes, seen here. While chaining them seems to send a wrong message, I understand they are free to roam the park at night. 430 miles north of Yangon lies Bagan, once the largest and most splendid city of Myanmar. Originally, Bagan was the capital of the Kingdom of Bagan, which was the first to unify the regions that would later constitute modern Myanmar. The area of Bagan has over 2,000 pagodas and temples, surviving from a height of over 10,000 between the 11th and 13th centuries. The Shwedagon Pagoda was constructed in the 11th century during the Pagan Empire. King Honorata, founder of the Pagan Empire, is considered the father of the Burmese nation. The stupa is perfectly symmetrical. The sides are all 160 feet long, as is the height. This stupa served as a prototype for many later stupas constructed in Myanmar. Chinth, or mythical lions, guard the entrances to the stupa. The rabbit in Buddhist myth is an example of selfless generosity. Burmese monks carry these bowls for collecting alms food each morning. This is Konagam, one of the four 11-foot-high gilded bronze Buddhas dating from the early 12th century. They represent the four Buddhas who gained enlightenment in this world. The smoking lamp is lit for those who can smoke a whole pack at once. In Myanmar, agriculture is the major industry, employing 70% of workers. Tilo Menlo Temple was built around the beginning of the 13th century. It is 150 feet tall and built with red brick. When the Buddha is in the sitting or meditation position with his right hand pointing toward earth, it represents the moment of Buddha's attaining enlightenment. The interior has elaborate plaster moldings and murals. The massive roofs are held up by clever use of arches and barrel vaults. This guy is templed out and in a stupa. Bagan is the center of the Burmese lacquerware industry, presenting even more opportunities to shop. We begin our tour of the process, watching the formation of jars from bamboo strips. This looks like pretty intense basket weaving. Here, gold leaf is added to bracelets. After some time, the design underneath will show through in combination with the gold. Certainly an ancient method of polishing. Our taxi is this horse-drawn cart. As you can tell, the suspension system is non-existent. I can't tell who is leaning, the temple or me. We are making our way to the shore of the Irrawaddy River, where we will board a boat to observe the sunset. First, we need to maneuver through the vendor gauntlet. The Adventures Abroad crew. The Irrawaddy River is Myanmar's largest river and most important commercial waterway. These river cruise ships are mainly people movers. One of many cargo carriers. From Rudyard Kipling's poem, the Irrawaddy is sometimes referred to as the road to Mandalay, a paddle wheeler, Asian version. Like most rivers, it has numerous uses. A river view of the beautiful Shwezigan Pagoda. Bob captures the sunset. Marionette performances date back to the 18th century. The music is even older. The next morning, a quiet and charming breakfast on the lawn. The Ananda Temple was built in 1105 AD. The spire rises 167 feet above a central square. Time for pictures with the Chinth. The central square contains 4 massive Buddha images. They are called the 4 Buddhas of the modern age. The hand positions here reflect fearlessness. I think the guard in the blue shirt may be older than Buddha. This Buddha's hand positions symbolize the Buddha's first sermon and express the continuous energy of the cosmic order. These Buddhas are of solid teak wood. Frescoes of Buddha from birth to death are depicted in this passageway. The Sulamani Temple was built around 1183 AD. The name means crowning jewel. The carved stucco exterior represents some of Bagan's finest ornamental work. Our guide's mudra indicates the cost of admission. On the stuccoed interior ambulatory, there are rich frescoes dating between the 12th and 19th centuries. In this temple, the Buddha images facing the four cardinal points are all seated. Local vendors were never far away. We visited the rather impressive Bagan Archaeological Museum. While having lunch at the typical food house, I swear that is the restaurant's name. Barbara saw a painting on the wall she had to have. Lorna led the packaging crew. And here it is at home, framed and on the wall. These kids are waiting for the school bus. Here we see palm seeds being ground to produce oil. Barbara is leading the Cebu in circles. Notice how she whips this big boy to let him know who is boss. He is climbing the toddy palm to collect the sap or sugar palm juice. This is a daily process. A main use of the toddy palm juice is for jaggery, or sugar. Another use is to allow it to ferment and form a weak beer. The toddy palm juice can also be distilled. When combined with other things like honey, it forms a liqueur. This looks like plain white lightning. Picture time. Pilgrims make their way up the 777 steps leading to the monastery. Monkeys are everywhere, and they are aggressive and always hungry. The area of Mount Papa is a popular pilgrimage site because it is thought to be home to the Burmese Nats, or spirits of ancient ancestors. The Nat shrines and areas of worship are almost arcade-like in their presentation, with flashing colored lights and brightly colored figures. At the top, we look out on Mount Papa, an extinct volcano about 5,000 feet high. Temples and shrines abound in this area. These monkeys are macacas. They're smiling because they didn't climb 777 stairs. Our home for the night is the Mount Papa Resort, with its lush, natural setting and spectacular views. Of course, Myanmar has its libation offerings for happy hour. The view across the pool was majestic. Below us flowed the Irrawaddy. The next morning, on our way to Mandalay, we stop at a roadside restaurant. The kitchen is busy, but judging from the cat, not a lot of leftovers. A local taxi with someone's Louis Vuitton bag. No Louis Vuitton bag on this taxi. We stop along the way at a wedding celebration. The bride and groom. Many families attended the celebration. The The meal was prepared in the backyard. Now that's what I call a rice cooker. The bride's parents were very hospitable. The yellowish-white paste on the faces of Burmese women and children is made from ground bark of the Tanaka tree. It is used for cosmetic reasons and also provides sunburn protection. We pass the moat surrounding the once magnificent Mandalay Palace. Unfortunately, the palace was razed to the ground during World War II and never rebuilt. Mandalay is the second largest city and last royal capital of Burma. We are about 500 miles north of Yangon. Local showers on the street corner. That evening we traveled to the summit of Mandalay Hill for sunset views of the city and its surroundings. Because the summit is a pagoda, shoes and socks are left behind. At least there are escalators. This is a major pilgrimage site for Burmese Buddhists. An ogre king with his army behind him. Looking north, we view the Mandalay Palace site and its eastern moat. A local soccer field. Stupas are everywhere. Government buildings. A two-tiered golf driving range. A stupa between holes on the golf course. Trying to hold the setting sun in your hand is difficult at best. Unfortunately, today is hazy from heat, pollution, or both. We met some young monks who spoke very good English. Barbara and Bob with their new friends. She is playing a kong, or Burmese harp. The patala, or Burmese xylophone, accompanies this traditional dance. Mandalay is the only place in Myanmar where gold leaf is produced, and that's where we're headed. To achieve the required thickness, the leaf is pounded by hand. The bowl between the two men pounding the gold is actually a water clock timer, measuring 3 minutes and indicating the time to change the pounding angle. These women prepare the gold leaf in bamboo and straw packets between poundings. It takes 6 hours of actual pounding to reach this stage. The monastery is known for its strict training for young monks. It can accommodate 1,300 monks and novices. Feeding such a large number of people requires a large kitchen, and these woks are huge. The produce area was very busy. These vats appear to hold soup. There were hundreds of saffron-robed monks queuing for lunch. While visiting the ancient capital of Amarapura, which preceded Mandalay and dates to the 18th century, we stop at the Ubain Bridge. Built around 1850, it is considered the longest bridge made from teak in the world. Boats are also available for hire. Barbara poses with a boat rower. Nearby were the silk and cotton weaving workshops. We were told it would take 2 months to make this embroidered garment. The monastery was first built in 1593 and later destroyed by fire. Reconstructed in 1992, it is much like a museum inside, with numerous Buddha images and religious scriptures. Their motto is, "Whatever works." We stop briefly in a marionette shop. They are both intricate and fascinating. The ball they are kicking is called a chinlan. It is woven rattan and hollow inside. There are actually various games that can be played. Just a few of the commercial craft tied up on the Irrawaddy. We have lunch overlooking the water. Jade is big business in Myanmar, and some estimate 10% of Mandalay's workforce is here. Certainly their motorcycles are. They are cutting the larger stones. Stone polishing. This appears to be the quality control team. Most everyone in Myanmar enjoyed having their pictures taken by the tourists. Most of the world's jade supply, as well as the best, comes from Myanmar. Currently, the biggest buyer is China. According to legend, this temple has one of only 3 likenesses of the original Buddha on earth. This 7-tiered roof stands above the Buddha's image. The Mahamuni Temple is a major pilgrimage site. Pilgrims add gold leaf to the image as offerings. The image, cast in bronze, weighs 6.5 metric tons and is 12.5 feet high. The crown is adorned with rubies, diamonds, and sapphires. These large royal drums, or saida, are used for festivals and other special occasions. The ever-present prayer bells. This pavilion houses 6 bronze statues, originally at Angkor Wat in Cambodia, that are said to have healing powers. This 3-headed elephant is Airavata, a mythical white elephant who carries the Hindu god Indra. The name means Golden Palace. Built here in the late 19th century, the monastery is the single remaining major original structure of the original royal palace of Mandalay. The building is known for its teak carvings of Buddhist myths which adorn its walls and roofs. The teak supporting timbers are also impressive. The Kuthadao Temple lies at the base of Mandalay Hill and is said to contain the world's largest book. The stupa itself is at the end of this long corridor and set in the middle of a 13-acre field of 729 shrines. Each shrine contains a marble slab inscribed on both sides with portions of the Theravada Buddhism sacred texts. Each slab is 5 feet by 3.5 feet wide. The carving began in 1860 and was completed in 1868. The Barbras are always making new friends. The next morning we board our bus for the journey to Kalau. We stop along the way to check out the local crafts and other tourist items. Today is the big market day in Kalau. Every 5 days, local hill tribes join the regular vendors and the market grows exponentially. Always helpful, Laura points out items of interest. You might notice what she uses to determine the purchase weight. I didn't know batteries were sold by the gram. Headdresses and other apparel denote their tribe. Transporting produce takes many forms. Fresh fish, but not for long. Dried fish. This vendor sells herbal remedies and other local healing medications. Kalau is an old colonial hill station and Myanmar's trekking mecca. A reminder of British colonial times is our Tudor-style hotel. Shui U Min Pagoda is actually a cave filled with golden Buddhas. The atmosphere is almost carnival-like, with colored flashing lights and randomly placed Buddha images of all shapes and sizes. Another reminder of British colonial times is this Anglican church. Shan people, educated by missionaries, still attend church here. We are in the Shan state, the largest in Myanmar. Bordering China, Laos, and Thailand, it is known for its ethnic diversity as well as its poppy-growing, heroin-producing Golden Triangle. Inlay Lake has an admission charge. Our hotel at Inle Lake is natural, peaceful, and picturesque. Our tour of the lake will focus on the life of the local tribe, or Intha. The Intha first arrived here in the 14th century and now number around 70,000. We head out into Inle Lake. It is a freshwater lake nearly 7 miles wide and 14 miles long. The local fishermen are known for their conical nets and one-legged rowing. One-legged rowing is required when both hands are needed on the net. The local tribe has developed a unique form of aquaculture, a network of interwoven water plants and fertile mud create a thick layer of humus over time, and this is attached to the bottom of the lake with bamboo poles. This temple on the lake contains 5 small Buddha images that have been covered in so much gold leaf they are unrecognizable. There is a market in the temple area daily. At least the beat appears accurate. Okay, Bob, look graceful.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Now you've got to turn around, Chuck. That's going to be hard. We have nobody to help us. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Chuck, how are you going to turn around?
This enormous barge carries the temple's Buddha images around the lake annually to drive away evil spirits. We had a pleasant lunch at this floating restaurant. The village along these canals is filled with huge teakwood homes on stilts. Silver and gold jewelry making is popular. Labor intensive, I'd say. Nothing, though, is more labor intensive than making garments from the fibers of lotus stems. To weave a robe for a monk requires the fibers from 120,000 lotus stems. She is making a robe on this handloom. The lake is about 3,000 feet above sea level. We are looking at the Shan Hills Range, actually foothills of the Himalaya Mountains. These women and teenage girls are rolling cigars and cheroots. They roll about 500 each per day. The Padang women wear brass rings around their neck from about the age 5. The weight of the brass pushes the collarbone down and compresses the rib cage, giving the appearance of a long neck. Their tribe is closer to the Thai border. They are here for tourists, and so is this floating souvenir market. Can't quite tell from Roberta's body language. It's either no or I'll take 10. Some historical accounts suggest that the Intha were unable to live in the Shan villages surrounding the lake, so they became fishermen and learned to aqua farm. They grow all manner of crops. These floating gardens can be moved or even sold like land. Our next stop is the Jumping Cat Monastery. Now we know the origin of the monastery name. I never imagined that cats could be trained. I understand the cats are well cared for by the monks. This has been a great day of discovering the unique character and talents of the Intha tribe. The next morning we head for yet another market. These ladies are headed there also. Motorcycle sales in Myanmar are, to say the least, robust. Another Cebu taking a rest. Time to say farewell, but we will long remember. Helpful, knowledgeable, and beautiful guides. Interesting creatures. Air-conditioned buses. Hard-working people. Fancy hats. Happy, friendly people. and best of all, great companions. I think I feel a burp coming on, and time for my nap. Very sad to have to say goodbye.